Mitzrayim geyaltanu, midait avadim beditanu. Geyaltanu midait avadim beditanu, Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim geyaltanu, midait avadim beditanu. Mitzrayim geyaltanu, midait avadim beditanu. Mitzrayim, Mitzrayim geyaltanu, midait avadim beditanu. Mitzrayim geyaltanu, midait avadim beditanu. Mitzrayim. Okay. So we're dedicating our learning for the yahrzeit of Moshe ben Eliezer and for the refuah of Moshe David ben Gittel and Sipporah Chaim bat Sarah and whoever else. Reuben ben Baruch, I don't know his mother's name. Okay. So in this week's parsha, in this week's Torah reading, by the way, do you know some Hebrew or not yet?
Without the, I don't know.
Yeah, but when I read, you can follow. You can show me the place every so often, okay? So we have the last 3 plagues, right? The 10th one being the plague of the firstborn, right? B'chorot, right? And there's a teaching from the Baal Shem Tov, it's well known, that the plagues were at the same time that they were a punishment and a retribution for the Egyptians, they were also a healing for the Jews in a number of different ways. In other words, there was a positive spin to them as well in terms of lessons that we needed to derive for our liberation and emancipation, okay? So this particular lesson that we're going to look at today is a lesson from the Shlomo based on the Ishbitzer, and it's going to be relating to the plague of the firstborns. Okay? So actually, I'm going to start reading from 233, but I'm going to just tell you what it says on those and the other previous pages. The Talmud says, the Torah says rather, that whenever as God was creating, God said, let there be, and there was, let there be, and there was, let there be this, let there be that, and so on. Except that when it came to the creation of man, God said, let us make man. And the question is, whom was he talking to? When he says, let us make man. So the simple, somebody's at the door, I believe. The simple, most straightforward explanation of that is that let us make man, is that it's the royal we, But there's a very beautiful teaching that God was actually inviting all of creation to participate, to contribute in the creation of man. In other words, that all animals and all nature and angels and heavenly spheres, etc., everybody contributed something. And in fact, I remember you reading years ago, there was a little article about how much are all the minerals in your body worth after you die, right? Because you actually have everything in your body, everything that exists in the world, you have traces of it in your body, and the deeper meaning of that is that man, because man is created from everything, so to speak, or in other words, there's the animal aspect of man's being, there's the divine aspect of man's being, there's the earthy aspect of man's being, there's the heavenly aspect of man's being, that therefore it's man that has the ability to bring it all together and to elevate the entire universe. You see, they were there before, but you just didn't see them.
Mhm.
Hi, Yocheved. Please come in. You left your notebook yesterday. I think it's on the kitchen table, Yocheved.
It's all right.
But don't you want it? It's your notebook and your pen in case you want to read. And we mentioned that the shir is dedicated for your father's year. So,
Thank you so much.
there's an interesting medrash that says that when it came to the creation of man, there were two angels, Uzzah and Azael, that objected. And then they said to God, what is man that you should even consider? Like, the world is beautiful. Like, you know what man is going to do. He's going to make pollution. He's going to mess things up and so on, right? Like, let it be. Stop now, like, okay. So what's the meaning of that? So man is the only creation that we see that there was an objection raised to the creation of man. And so the Ishbitzer explains that angels, what is the meaning of an angel? Well, of course, you know what an angel is. It's just this creature with wings and just flies around, right? It has a Peter Pan thing on its head, right?
It's like a baby.
Yeah. They exist in Peter Pan, right? So one way to understand what angels are is that they're energies. And the question is, like, why would these angels, if God wants to create man, why would these angels object? I mean, they're talking to God,
Yeah.
God is inviting them to participate in our creation. They're saying, no. Like, why do you want to do this? It's not a good idea. Anyway, we need the door again. So angels are God's creations as well. They're not independent. They're not independent creatures. They actually don't even really have free choice.
Right. So how could they?
So what he's explaining is that these angels, Uzzah and Azael, you're gonna have to. There's another book over there. Look, turn over there. No, we're not using that book today. We're using a different one. There's one send it over. Thank you. Page 233. So what these two angels contributed was actually negativity. Notice when the Medrash says that they said, what is man that you should consider man? What they contributed is negativity. In other words, you're sitting in your car at a red light, there's a car in front of you, you're in a rush, the light turned green and the guy didn't start moving yet, and you blast your horn, you say, get out of my way, who needs you, right? Where does that negativity come from? Where does it come that we should be so negative towards other people? And when it gets really, really bad, it can even be so bad that people say, who needs me, right? I'm superfluous in the world. It can get really bad, and people sometimes feel like, maybe my family would be better off if I wasn't alive anymore. Or maybe, it's like, God created you, God appreciates you, and it could be so negative that. So where and why do we keep on going to war and kill each other and so on? We got to get rid of these people. We got to get rid of these people. It's going on all the time, right? And so that's as a result of the negativity that was contributed by these angels. Okay? In other words, the reason that you're negative is in other words, it's not that these angels were criticizing the existence of man because man was going to be doing something bad, but rather man is negative and does negative things because that's part of the contribution that was made to bless you. That was part of the contribution that was made to our being. In other words, we were created with good, and we were created also with negativity.
If we use that reasoning, how we've done this before, if we use that reasoning, we can say the devil made me do it.
Because you could say it as much as you want, but you're not going to be off the hook. You're not going to be off the hook. And that's what Cain said to God. He says, "Am I my brother's keeper?" In other words, why did you let me do it? You were here. You could have. Just take a little bit. Yeah. You were here, God. Why did you? What are you criticizing me for? You should have stopped me. And Hashem says to him, "Nice try, boy, but you're responsible for what you do." Okay? Understand? When you say the devil made me do it, it's just an excuse that people say. It's true. I have negativity in me, but there's no law that I have to give into it. Okay. So now, what Reb Shlomo continues with, and let's look inside on 233. The topic over here is Haim ata ohev yiladim? Do you like children? It for sure is going to sound like really frightening to you. But I want you to know, there are people who hate children, tragically. There's a famous piece of literature that we had to read when I was in university in the Norton Anthology. It was by a guy by the name of Smith, and it's called The Modest Proposal.
Yeah.
You read it?
It's funny, yeah.
It's funny, but it's tragic, isn't it? It's so sad.
Irish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Irish.
Is
You
the
know-
same guy who wrote Gulliver?
I don't know.
It was a joke.
No, it was a
Right.
sarcastic piece.
Yeah.
It was a sarcastic piece. but
Gulliver's Travels was the same guy.
maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, fine. I'm not arguing with you. Believe me, I don't know all that much about literature. Okay, and at that time in England, 5 and 6 year olds were already working in the mines, and there was a lot of poverty, and kids were being treated really badly. So he wrote his modest proposal, proposing that kids be put on the menu. And it's like disgusting, And he writes about how people would then treat their wives much better because they're going to make money with the kid and so on. Anyway, there are people who can't stand kids. One Friday night I was walking to shul and I was walking by this house and I heard this mother screaming at her kid. I was just about to go knock on the door and pick up the kid and get him out of that house. Like the terrible things that she was saying, who needs you to ruin my life? It's tragic. So says Shlomo, there are people who hate children. Open your eyes. You see, you're surprised to hear that because thank God, you all grew up. You all grew up. Page 233. You all grew up in a rather privileged society, right? You've all grown up in a pretty privileged environment, and so it sounds like really strange to you, but I mean, okay. Okay. Now, take for example, you know, without even getting into politics, right? When we had to go fight in Gaza, right? The Palestinians were using children as human shields. I don't know if you ever saw the pictures or anything like that. They literally would carry little children as shields, so that if they were shot, then the publicity was, look at, we're killing kids, you know. They literally they were running around holding children as their shields. You know, like these people love children. Somebody said that there's going to be peace when
Go there.
how's it go? That when
When
they'll
Palestinians love their children as much as
when-
more than they hate us. Or something.
right when they'll love their children more than they hate us, right?
Um,
Anyway, so there are people who hate children, and so Atem Yodim Me'efa Ze Ba, where does that come from? So he says, "Me'akol shel Uzzah v'Azael." That's the voice of these two angels, Uzzah and Azael. These two angels who've contributed negativity to our creation. בסתר ליבם מאמינים האנשים האלה שהאדם לא היה צריך להיברא. These people believe that man shouldn't, you know, they don't go around announcing it, but they basically believe that man shouldn't have been created. לכן כל אדם קטן שנולד מפריע להם, so whenever another child is born, it bothers them, right? ממש מפריע להם. בסתר ליבם הם היו רוצים לתעתע את המין האנושי מן העולם, they would rather that there was no humankind in the world. עכשיו תשמעו עוד חידוש של האיש בצר. Now listen to this חידוש. הוא אומר, he says, המצרים שנאו את הילדים שלהם. He says the Egyptians hated their children. ומי מהילדים שלהם הם שנאו הכי הרבה? Which of their children do they hate the most? את הבכור, the firstborn. את הילד הראשון שלהם, their firstborn child. ומה שהרג את הבכורות של מצרים, and what killed the Egyptian firstborns, זאת השנאה של ההורים שלהם. It was their parents' hatred that killed them.
Why did the
Wait, hold on. זה חידוש מדהים מעבר ממש. This is an unbelievable insight. Okay? In other words, what are you asking, Michal?
Why did the Egyptians hate the firstborn?
Well, you can go and start doing all kinds of analysis and coming up with various ideas. I don't know that I can tell you it was exactly because of this or because of that. But why don't you ask a question? Why are there people who hate children? You know,
I can understand that because the younger the child, the more you have to look after them and feed them and wash them and take care of them. I can understand that they don't want to be bothered. But some to hate a child or to hate a person, he says.
and what about stam to hate people? It's all part of the same phenomena. It's all part of the negativity that we're created with. And in some situations it's more pronounced. In some situations it's more subtle, but it's all the same. Screaming at the guy in front of you when the light turns green and you say, "Get out of here! Who needs you?" It's something that is, so to speak, acceptable to do that. You know, like road rage or something like that, right? But it's the same phenomena. It's just it's in a format that you're not going to go to jail for. Yeah. Okay, one second.
I would argue that child is closest to God. When the younger the child, the more dependent, the more the less the
You don't have to argue. You're on that level of consciousness that you see that. Okay. But the reality is that like I remember once in Mad Magazine, you've ever read it? Back in the 60s and the 70s, it was like really smart. It's not as good as it used to be like that. But so they had all these different birth announcements, and one of them was an accountant making an announcement that they have a new baby. So the announcement read, "We now have a new tax deduction." A new tax deduction was born to Irving and Sonia. Yeah. Okay. What were you going to say?
I'm going to give a possible explanation for the question, for Mikhail's question.
Yeah.
And that is why the firstborn makes you into a parent.
So
there's a Hebrew, it's a nursery school song, because when the child is born, the child creates the parent and is made a parent. If you don't like being a parent because you don't like kids, you're going to resent the firstborn because the firstborn did it to you in the first place. After that, it's just a little bit more of the same. But
okay, we can all
the original sin is the firstborn.
We can come, we can come up with all kinds of explanations, and some more valid, some less valid. But that's not what that's not the point that we're trying to get at right now. What we're really trying to get at in this piece over here is like this. If I go over and I smack somebody, so I hurt them with my hand, right? If I say negative things, I'm hurting them verbally, right? If I'm looking at them with an evil eye, like I'm hurting them in that way also. Like I remember there's an expression in English: if looks could kill, I'd be dead now. I've seen it in schools and so on. There are sometimes like teachers like look at a kid like with that look of like, I'm gonna kill you, like that's why the kid came to school, like so that the teacher should give them that kind of a look, but I mean the negativity is like sometimes so thick you can just like slice it with a knife. That's how thick it is, Now what if I'm just sitting and I'm behaving myself and I'm polite, but I'm sitting among people and I'm just thinking like, I hate this guy. So am I actually doing anything? Am I actually hurting them? I know I'm not being in a positive space. So it's basically Hashem designed the world in such a way you can have these feelings, and I'm protected from being hurt by these feelings of yours, right? So what Rav Shlomo is saying over here in the name of the Ishbitzer is that on the night of Makat Bechorot, and the night of the plague of the firstborns, what Hashem basically did was he unleashed the power of the hatred. In other words, it was their own hatred to their firstborns. The energy of the hatred was unleashed, and that is what killed their firstborns.
What protects them?
Hold on. Normally, Hashem doesn't allow. You can hate me, but the creation is such that you can sit there and hate me. Maybe I'll feel uncomfortable and so on, but I can continue eating my pizza.
Is there some kind of connection to this idea and then the part of the Seder where you open up the door?
Also, yeah.
Some kind of thing.
Yeah. But so this Julie, she just came in. They're in. Shaya. My wife opened the door. So you understand what he's saying over here is that the fact that if you hate someone and you're not actually hurting them, it's only because that's the way like Hashem protects others from that. But God forbid it can be unleashed. Understand? That energy could be unleashed. And I mean, look, do you know that they republished Mein Kampf?
Yeah.
And you know that it's sold out on the first day in Germany this week.
Everywhere you go in India, they have copies. Everywhere.
I'm saying, but they released it again in Germany this week, and it was sold out in one day.
Man, that's intense.
Okay. So, so it's not like the hatred wasn't there the day before. You understand? Like what's going on in the world right now is, and this is something that happens again and again. It's like a cycle in a certain sense. Is that like like the negativity gets unleashed and people start getting hurt. Okay, and there's a lot to talk about that, and I'm not claiming to be an expert on it or anything like that, but that's not where I want to go. Let's go on where we see where the third last line on page 233. אבל נחזור קצת אחורה. Let's take a step back. לפני מכת בכורות הייתה מכת חושך. Before, it's the third last line on the page, just in case you didn't look at the letters. So before the plague of the firstborn, there was the plague of darkness. אתם יודעים מהיכן בא החושך הזה? Now where did that darkness come from? החושך הזה היה החושך של המצרים עצמם. The darkness was their own darkness, right? The Torah tells us that for us there was light and for them it was dark. Again, what he's saying is Hakadosh Baruch Hu, are on the last line, second word. Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, kara et hamasachim, God, so to speak, tore open the curtains. Upitam hevanu, and all of a sudden we understood. Pitam ra'inu, we saw krihem hamitzrim, we saw, page 234, tehom haresha, that they were the abyss of evil. When the plague of the darkness came, pitom kalatnu, we suddenly understood shehem lo enoshiyim, that these guys are not human. Hem lo b'nei adam, rak choshech, they're just darkness. V'az, and then acharei she'amasecha nikra'a, after the curtain had been torn open, v'ah makat b'chorot, came the plague of the firstborn. V'az mitzgaleh davar nosaf. And then another thing was revealed about them, which was that that they hate their children. And it's that hatred that killed the firstborns. Because in the secret of their hearts, they didn't want these children. They were a burden for them. Kamuvan, as obviously understood, b'yom ragil, on a regular day, sinah shel horim lo yichola lahoreg yiladim, hatred of parents cannot kill their children. Aval b'oto laila miyuchad, but on that special night, כשנגלה עליהם מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, when there was the revelation, Kamuvan, כשנגלה עליהם, looking with me, I'll find. כשנגלה עליהם מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, when the King of all kings of kings, the Holy One, blessed be He, was revealed, Shechotamo emet, the seal of God is truth. So all the truth was revealed. You understand? The truth of the evil was exposed. Gam haroa nechshav kimlo me'agumav. Evil was also exposed fully. In other words, the evil that they had was unleashed and it killed their kids. Right?
If the Egyptians hated their firstborn,
Yeah.
why was Makat Bechorah such a terrible assignment? They should be happy that the firstborn were done away with. That's fine.
Because when a person comes to realize how bad their evil is, okay? right, when you see the effects of your hatred, it's like shakes you up like really bad. Okay? That's why I guess wars come to an end, and then after a number of years they start again. It's like people forget how evil it is. So the right the so he says אתם יודעים כל כך קל להורים להרגיש כלפי הילדים שלהם מי צריך אותך. It's so easy for parents to feel towards their kids like, who needs you? Chas v'shalom, right? Without getting into a debate about abortion, okay? But they like the whole a lot of kids get aborted because the parents say, "Oh, I don't have enough money. I don't want to have the trouble. I don't want to have this. I'm who needs you? Who needs you?" And so on. Now, I certainly haven't been a woman in this lifetime, so I'm not making any judgments on anybody that has gone through that. I don't envy them and so on. But I'm just saying, but just the whole idea that philosophically that we we're not talking about abortions because of somebody's life being in danger, but it's not convenient to now have a child. So maybe it's not convenient, but it just obviously shows that there's a great lack of appreciation of life. Understand? It's so the Leil HaSeder on Seder night at Pesach, when we go out into freedom, what's the first thing that we do? We celebrate Seder. Seder night is focused on the kids. Right? Understand? Huh?
The wicked child.
He's there too.
Yeah.
He's also there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, but it's like, the kids, like it's focused on the kids, right? Kizeh, page 235. Kizeh HaMivchan HaRishon, HaChashuv Biyoter. This is the first test about the first test of your freedom. Eich atem ka'aba ve'ima mityachasim le'iladim shelachem. How do you, as father and mother, relate to your children? Kama atem nehenim mehem. How much do you enjoy and appreciate them? Kama atem rutzim behem. How much do you want their being? V'hashelot ha'ela, and these questions, kshirot l'shoresh hachi amok, and these questions are connected to the deepest root. Kama ata rotzeh b'kiyumo shel olam. How much does the existence of the world matter to you? How much do you care about the existence of the world? B'kiyumam shel b'nei adam. How much do you care about the continued existence of mankind? Are you really happy that God created man in the image of God, or would you rather that we would all be like some fancy, cute little dogs? You know what I mean? Or meow, whatever, right? Or do you, in the secret of your hearts, you can't stand people, right? So lama hamivchan hazeh dafka b'leil haseder. So why are we being tested specifically with this on Seder night? Ki b'leil haseder hakadosh baruch hu podeh otanu mibeit avadim. Because on Seder night God is redeeming us from the house of bondage. Mahu eved. What is a slave? Eved hu mechona. A slave is like a machine. Avadim hem hamtza'a shel Uza v'Azael. Slaves are the invention of Uza and Azael. אותם מלאכי קטרוג האומרים שבני אדם הם בסך הכל בעלי חיים משוכללים שעושים בעיות. There's the same voices, it's the same energies that say that people are basically sophisticated animals that cause a lot of problems, right? And I saw this documentary on my last plane ride. This photographer, I had once seen the pictures in Life magazine. There's a big, huge gold mine in Brazil, and they have thousands of people walking up and down this steep hill to go and get a bucket of, slush or whatever they call it, which they then schlep up the hill, where it goes through a separator, to see if there's any gold nuggets in there. And these people work there all day long, and they're not even allowed to wear any clothes because lest they might steal something. And before they leave work at the end of the day, they're examined in all their orifices to make sure that they're not hiding something in their ears or in their ears or whatever. And they actually are called ants in that society. These people, because when you take when you took a picture of the gold mine from high up, it literally looks like an ant hill with ants walking up and down, back and forth. So that's an invention of Uza and Azael. So long as I could use you, you have value in being alive to me. But once I can no longer use you, right? And that's what the Nazis were doing, right? They were executing, never mind just the Jews, I'm talking about they were executing the people who were insane or people who had other problems and so on. Anybody that wasn't perfect in their eyes, they got rid of. Okay? That's the invention of Uza and Azael. That's the invention of negativity, right? And a slave is somebody who thinks that way, right? The truth is that a person is not a machine. A person is a free being, is created in the image of God. A person is created in the image of God. On the night of the Seder, when we go out into freedom, we actually feel the divine image that's within us. And that's why Seder night is the time to be in love once again with our children. Because each one of our children is another unique divine image in the world. Right?
Do we love our children because they are our children, or do we love them because it's Selam Hashem?
Depends where it's not. You're asking should we? You're asking do we? It depends on the person. That's what but when you look at your child, if you don't yet see that this is an image of God, then you got to work on developing that. But that's the idea that you're a free person. That means that you yes, we have negativity, but you're not a slave. You can overcome it. You're supposed to overcome it. And that's what it's all about. Is Adam can be the lowest, worst creature in the world, and Adam can be the highest, best creature in the world. But know that, and this is one understanding of Makat Bechovot, right? Know that if you find yourself hating somebody, the Torah speaks about how to deal with it. Okay? Vayikra chapter 19, read it, okay? But know that this is reality, and that you have to deal with it. You have to know how to deal with it. You have to deal with it. And just to relate it to what we were learning earlier in the week with the month of Shvat, is this thing about eating and stuffing yourself at the same time that you know that somebody else is starving is also part of the same negativity. I need my cake. I don't care if somebody else is going to starve, God forbid, right? And so it's all part of this, it's all part of the same screen. It's part of the whole picture. Okay? I'm sorry, I have to go run to the dentist, so have a good Shabbos. I'll be in touch with you later in the afternoon, okay? But
That's fine.
I can just tell you that I didn't get much rest because of this last night.
Right. No, I totally understand.
Yeah.
I'm free next week. Anytime.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
We're having Sudash
You're going to? I was just going to ask.
Yeah, there's going to be Shabbat Bracha for Hudi.
Oh, yay.
Hudi Wick.
Yes.
Hudi Wick.